In the early 1970s, each business day, Cliff Ball would leave his home, walk a few blocks to downtown Olathe. There he would wait for a train to take him to Kansas City to work. Little did this lifelong Olathian know that he was one of the few remaining Olathe residents to use the railroads, and soon this important era would come to an end. The Santa Fe and Oregon trails were Olathe's first transportation connections to a larger world. However, with the completion of the Hannibal Bridge in Kansas City after the Civil War, the railroads could now cross the Missouri River and head west, thus ending the need for difficult wagon and stagecoach travel. One Olathe man who capitalized on the Santa Fe Trail would now turn his attention to the railroads. J.B. Mahaffey, with other businessmen, would help establish the Missouri River, Fort Scott, and Gulf Railroad. In 1868, the railroads came to Olathe. In 1872, another line, the St. Louis, Lawrence, Denver, and Western Railroad, began operating between Olathe and what is now DeSoto. As the railroad often had well-publicized financial troubles, it soon became known as the Calamity Line and the Leaky Roof Railway. The ill-fated line was soon taken over by the St. Louis to San Francisco Railroad, more popularly known as the Frisco. In 1881, the Santa Fe Railroad began constructing a depot on the site of the Christian Church in Olathe at the corner of Willie and Park. By November of the following year, the railroad began sending passengers and goods on trains north to Kansas City. Not to be outdone, the Frisco Railway built its own depot between Mahaffey and Church Streets in 1887. The Frisco and Santa Fe lines would soon have a new competitor for passenger service to Kansas City. In 1906, William Strang would buy a new but troubled interurban railroad project from William Lackman. Strang had developed real estate in what is today Overland Park and wanted residents of his park-like community to have easy access to other parts of the Kansas City metro. The first passengers from Olathe boarded a Strang Line trolley in 1907. Olathe residents could now take a fast, comfortable train to points in Johnson County and all the way to downtown Kansas City. In 1936, the Santa Fe station received its most famous passenger yet, President Franklin Roosevelt. The president was on a whistle-stop tour and was scheduled to stop and speak in Olathe. By the time his train pulled into town, more than 10,000 people had piled onto the platform to see a glimpse of the president. Though it was not graced by a presidential visit, the Strang Line was profitable until 1938, when increasing competition from rapidly improving roads began eating into the trolley's business. By 1940, operators had no choice but to discontinue service. The U.S. military ensured that the Santa Fe and Frisco lines avoided a similar fate. In the 1940s, hundreds of cars rumbled into the Olathe depots packed with trainee airmen and women. After finishing their instruction at Olathe Naval Air Station, the rookie pilots, technicians, and ground crew returned to the train depots to ship out for combat duty in Europe or the Pacific. The railroads had once been the fastest, most convenient way to get to and from Kansas City. But with President Eisenhower's highway building project in the 1950s, this advantage was lost. Fewer and fewer people passed under the striped awnings of the Santa Fe Depot or came to the Frisco station after I-35 reached Olathe in 1959. The Frisco maintained passenger service until 1967, and on May 1, 1971, a conductor checked passengers' tickets for the final time at the Santa Fe Depot. Today, BNSF, which merged with Frisco in the early 1980s, has two mainline tracks and one connection track in Olathe. Olathe has not forgotten the railroads of yesteryear. The Leaky Roof Railway is memorialized by the Calamity Line Park, while a marker and two benches just west of the Santa Fe grade crossing reminds residents of the day FDR came to town. William Strang's interurban railway is recognized by Strang Line Road in Olathe. Today, the railroads in Olathe are often considered an inconvenience. However, as they blast their horns or stop traffic as they pass through town, let this be a continual reminder of the importance railroads played in Olathe's past.